I'm here at Startupfest 2025 in Montreal, Canada, and I'm speaking with Ilias Benjelloun. He is a multi-time founder and deep community builder in the Montreal, Quebec ecosystem. And we talk about a whole bunch of things given his perspective. One is how there is a resurgence of real builders, just like there was in the 2008-2009 timeframe. That sort of scarcity and pain is causing these kinds of things to happen. Second, he also notes that private sector support is critical. You have to move beyond the government to actually build in the ecosystem. And the fact that AI and this disruption is creating a sense of urgency, which might actually be catalyzing net new, really interesting companies being built. So I'm interested to hear your take. Have a listen.
Hey, Ilias, thanks for coming on the show. Tell us who you are and what you do with your time.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to see you, Chris. My name is Ilias Benjelloun. Currently with my time, I'm enjoying life. Beautiful summer here in Montreal at Startupfest. So yes. I'm definitely enjoying it. Otherwise, I've been a founder a couple of times, 3 times founder, community builder over the last many years. Too many years to count. And I think I've been, and also like I worked with large companies, helping them build their innovation pipeline, investment part, accelerator, etc. I think like 3 angles around the same thing. That is basically how can we get ambitious, but kind, impactful innovation out of the doors and make them sustainable.
Right. So we're here, it's Montreal, it's summer, Startupfest. You've been in this
That's
ecosystem.
the beautiful outfit.
There you go. Yes, everyone has to wear linen. You're legally obligated. I'm curious to get your perspective, especially because you've been helping build the ecosystem here for so long. What is your perspective on it's 2025? There's some stuff that's happening, right? Like trade relationships have been kind of messed up.
Oh, really?
Apparently. AI, all the things, which is, it's always been in this ecosystem, but now it's supercharged.
Yeah.
What patterns are you seeing? Let's start with the entrepreneurship patterns. What are you seeing in terms of like where people are focusing their time, what they are or not building, what people are interested in this ecosystem? Are you seeing anything different?
Well, I have good glasses, so I tend to have a good outlook. But jokes aside, I think in retrospect, what Trump and etc. brought to the world like is a good thing for people who want to build, because it's created opportunities like beyond the trade war, whatever. Hopefully, we won't tax software, but regardless, it shook the world, and we see it even here in Montreal. So it changed the status quo, and people actually want to build. Like we see this energy, and to be frank, over the last, I would say 2 years, we've seen this resurgence of appetite. I think with government taking a bit of a step back, in my humble opinion, maybe a bit contrarian, but it's a good thing because it leaves room for the private sector to step in. It leaves room for the real entrepreneurs to show up, the real builders to show up, and not people who are building as they would be doing a job or as they would be working for a big company because the big company is daddy government in a way.
Yeah.
And I think this is actually a great opportunity. And we see that energy coming back here in Montreal, back in Canada in general, where the real entrepreneurs will show up. And I just hope truly and genuinely that the private sector will back those entrepreneurs, that the older people like myself, like yourself, you're getting into that age, will actually be behind those entrepreneurs and push them forward and help them lift them up.
Right.
We, the older generation, needs to be there for the new generation. And I'm talking about new generation of entrepreneurs, not like younger entrepreneurs. Like we see a lot of them either because they got laid off last year, which is a great thing. Thank you for everybody who laid off people in a way, because it makes people actually want to build because they have to. They have no choice. And we're getting back into, it reminds me of like the 2012, even like back in the days when we launched Montreal New Tech, that now is called Elan Tech. It was a time in 2008 where there was like the financial crisis, right? So people didn't really have a choice but to build.
Yeah.
And they were not building because there was a grant or there was this or there was that. They were building because they wanted to do it, either because they saw an opportunity or because they needed to create their own job in a way, or join or team up because, like we need to create our own opportunities. Yeah. And I think that brings the real builders rather than just people who are there because there is a system that allow them to survive.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for this year. It feels like it's a good vintage.
Yeah.
like good wine. Seriously,
100%.
I think in 10 years, in retrospect, we'll be like, you know what, that Trump guy, actually, he did good stuff.
Well, ultimately, he's a disruptor, right? Like he's disrupted everything, and that forces everyone to rethink what they're doing. So,
exactly.
And then looking in the other direction, you mentioned government. Like, what have you seen that's like, are people leaning in on the like a lot of, if you're not an American city, often the Valley or something like that, a lot of countries around the world look to the government for some amount of participation in fomenting an innovation ecosystem, because there is a lot of risk there.
Yeah, of course.
What are you seeing? And I know it's like in Canada, at least, new federal government, not so new provincial government, but people are rethinking things at that level.
Yeah.
Are you seeing motions or activities that are different than the past? Is it rhyme with the 2008, 2009 kind of time frame? Is it different? What are you seeing?
I think I'll be very, very frank. I'm not connected enough with government policies.
Sure.
I'm more on the private sector side. Okay. I have beliefs where the government should be.
Right.
I don't know if the government will be there.
Let me ask you.
Right.
Let me ask you a different way. Are the attitudes towards utilizing the government for resources, and/or are you seeing activity from the government that is actually showing up in the ecosystem in a different way than you have before? The answer could be no.
Yes, I think one of the things, and I know it's like, I think people in governments have a fairly good intent, especially civil servants who are trying to design those programs, etc., have a good intent. I would say the big difference between before and now is accountability for both the people who benefit from the grants, etc., and ideally for the people who distribute those grants. Because as you can, we institutionalize the ecosystem.
Yeah.
For better or worse, I don't want to go into this debate, or not for now at least. And we created layers of grants are being given by incubators, accelerators. You need to be part of an incubator accelerator to have access to that grant. That creates kind of like a two-tier system. Not ideal, because I think there are amazing entrepreneurs who are especially the one who have 7-10 years of experience, who don't necessarily want to go through all the hoops and loops of the system.
Yeah.
That being said, in the past, I think we were not maybe as good as holding both incubators, accelerators, and entrepreneurs to accountability. Yeah. I think since last year, especially here in Quebec, I don't know about the rest, meaning especially here, not that I know about what's happening outside, but we're here in Montreal, so talking about here.
Right.
Accountability appetite increased. And that's also one of the reasons why last year, I'm sure few people noticed, and it was not ideal for entrepreneurs, but a bunch of programs got stopped around October last year.
Yes.
Now we see them resumed in a different format. And that period was also time for civil servants to reflect on the results of what has happened, what went well, what didn't go so well, redesign some or tweak some of them, and reopen them. Was not ideal for entrepreneurs, and I know a lot of entrepreneurs suffered. But at some point, you need to be accountable. It's my taxpayers' money as well, and ideally, I want that to be efficient, right?
Right.
So I think this is the new vision on it, and it's also out of necessity because there is less money in the ecosystem. 4 years ago or whatever during COVID, we opened the valves, and I think it was a bit not very or as wise as it could have been.
Right.
And now we're a bit more wiser.
Yeah. So reflecting also on your time, and I guess let's take the third pillar and then let's do a longer pattern from the corporate angle. Thinking about it from the corporate angle, what are you seeing about, what I've seen in boom and bust periods, innovation, corporate innovation follows, right? There's a lot of money and money's cheap with ZERP and stuff. People are just I'll have an innovation team and we'll build gigantic things. As soon as money gets tight, all the innovation, quote unquote, work, whether it was actually innovation or not, tends to go away, and people are less willing to be risky. Are you seeing any patterns in the corporate behavior about buying from, partnering with, using entrepreneurial stuff in this day and age? And I know AI is changing the equation a bit too.
I think, I think AI, and we can talk for hours around that, but I think now there is a true need, and people are realizing. It makes me, right now it feels, I would say 2014, that period, or 2013 to 2015, the period where we saw a lot of disrupting companies like Uber, whatever, who came and challenged the incumbent players, and large companies felt the hit.
Yeah.
Right now, I see also over the last year, I would say, large companies feeling that hit of AI is going to disrupt us. And that's a good thing. Feeling the hit is a good thing. Now, what I see is twofold. One, that appetite to innovate or to optimize is really here. The appetite to innovate and disrupt, I don't feel it at all. The appetite to consume, and what I tend to like to say is that like we have to be nationalistic, not just for, like the artisanal work and like eating local maple
local,
syrup and this or whatever, buy local, but like buy local innovation as well, and taking that risk with your entrepreneurs and be nationalistic around that. I don't feel it at all. Like we're still in a process where unfortunately we don't have that appetite. We don't feel the nationalism.
Yeah. We did for 5 minutes.
Sorry?
For 5 minutes we did.
Yeah, like for 5 minutes when Trump said what he said,
exactly.
and for
He
5
changed the
minutes
election,
on July 1st.
Yeah.
I think July 1st should be every day, and like we should feel that nationalistic pride about buying Canadian or buying Montreal or buying whatever. But that feeling, we don't have it yet.
Yeah.
And also, surprisingly, because I've been a bit in Saudi, Dubai, Emirates in general, even Morocco. I'm from Morocco originally. And I feel that appetite of companies there to actually consume early stage, invest in early stage.
Yeah.
Here, we don't have CVCs investing in early stage because, of course, and I understand it, it's too risky.
Yeah.
I understand that a large company will not consume. That behavior hasn't changed. We're far from that. We're not doing enough for that. I think both at individual level and government and companies, we're not aligning also the incentives there. And that's like a bigger conversation. It's a cultural issue.
Yes.
And I think like discussions like today can help, but we need a far larger discussion of people who actually have done it and talk about it. But also the taxation aspect, we're far from being competitive in incentivizing, because we're all like people of incentives, right?
Yeah.
To have that behavior of taking that risk, being incentivized.
Yes.
We have few talks here and there, but we're not fast enough between the mouth and the actual execution. So it stays in the air and talking about it. Like what we're doing today.
We've both done some things. And I left you hanging. Just one interesting point that you made, I want to go back to. You think you're comparing the rhyming of the last 10 years ago boom cycle with this one. You think that there's not an appetite for disruption on the startup side or on the incumbent side, or both?
Well, both is like the easy answer.
I know.
I would say the challenge we have, like on the incumbent side, yes, like, and that's a given, because of course, like the established companies don't want to be disrupted. But they don't take the time and effort to actually disrupt themselves or create new lines that can potentially disrupt them. And it's all right. Like when we launched, for example, the lab of Desjardins, and it was like the lab part, it was the prototyping, the investment arm, etc.
Yeah.
Like eventually, the part that was around like training got incorporated inside the company. The part around prototyping got incorporated, and that's a good thing.
Yes.
That means that like the body is kind of like accepting
absorbing.
Now, keeping that rolling and doing it in a time where there is uncertainty, like there is uncertainty today, there is disruption from the outside, it's hard for an incumbent company to do it. It's really hard to be like, I have the leadership to just like double down on that. It's not easy. Okay. We see the appetite though to adopt AI.
Yeah.
We see the appetite to optimize and still explore. And that's actually happening. The challenge is we're still a country that produce a lot of service provider. The challenge is also on the entrepreneurial front. Yeah. And that's why I said like it's a bit of both, but it's understandable from one. On the other side, we have founders who have much more incentives to develop service firms rather than product firms. Right. So even in AI, we have amazing talent here in Montreal, crazy talent, really, really good talent. But we don't have a structure that is incentivizing the development of products.
Right. And
it's easier. And like, we are all...
Well, yeah, I mean, Zuckerberg's paying $100 million for a smart person who comes out of Mila.
Exactly. So it's... Yeah. That's the chance. So I think like we have both. But we see, and I would like to go back to that, is over the last year, especially what we've seen with Elan Tech. Like even, it was called Montreal New Tech, it became Elan Tech, out of almost a push of the community. Like when we started in 2008, it was really this network of founders who of geeks actually, not even founders. I'll be very geeks, nerds, outliers in a way, who were like, well, the system is not working for us. Let's come together and support each other. Right. And we started with few stuff. That vibe and energy I see it coming back, and that's awesome. Like, it's people who want to build.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the challenge as an ecosystem is how can we create a space where those outliers, those geeks, the people who want to build, feel really and genuinely welcomed, and they have space for that.
Right.
And that's the challenge that we are facing, and it's all right. Where disruption happen, are we going to seize that moment? Are we going to create that space for people who want to build, to come together and actually build, rather than maybe spend a lot of energy to look just good?
And then, Doctor, finally, your prescription, given what you've learned building not just an ecosystem, but building an ecosystem here, physically here, what is the lessons learned so that this turn of the crank, I feel like these things come in decades, you know, every decade it was the dot-com boom, then it was the recession, and now we're in whatever the heck this is, AI plus a bunch of other stuff. How do you turn this crank and get it righter this time? What do you not do or do?
I really think we should leave the private sector and the private initiatives to blossom. I think individually, your role as a citizen, government's role as like an agent, we should find great private initiatives, people who want to do stuff, whether it's community builders, it's founders, etc., and just support them, promote them, elevate them, create incentives to take more risk, really, both from the large company side and the founder side, and genuinely be more inclusive. Like the challenge is, we talk a lot around the needs of diversity, inclusion, etc. Like fine, but the real inclusion is where you create space where those outliers, the one who have the potential to disrupt, can actually blossom.
Right.
And they don't work well in institutionalized structures.
Right.
They are the same people who don't work well in universities. Right. Like they don't fit the mold, they don't fill the box. So
they would be working at a job if they fit inside of a job.
Exactly. Yeah. But the good news here, and right now what I love about the fact that we have this appetite now, because the vibe is disruption is happening outside. We have those disruptors who either got laid off or they want to leave to seize the opportunity. This is a great moment. So
explain
my call on the go ahead.
Yeah. So more precisely, I mean, that was true 10 years ago when you did or almost 10 years ago. What is the action that needs to be taken? Is it like let 1,000, how do you engender that action that happen? What is the thing you do to make that happen this time around?
Yeah.
I'm assuming because it was lacking last time around. Is that why you're saying?
The challenge, so in a more concrete manner, like I see it every day, people currently in Montreal, I'll be very specific.
We're in Montreal.
In Montreal. Yeah. I see every day now people from immigrant background. I see people who maybe quit their jobs and who are developers and builders who are meeting up and building stuff, who are, and of course I preach for the choir of the geeks and the nerds who are actually trying to find space and to come together, who meet here and there. My role, and I hope that, the role of a whole bunch of people, is to find those people or support the organizations who are more grassroots and believe in them.
Right.
Get out of the way, find the ones who are actually building and support them. We have to kind of like be a bit more lean and start supporting those and being proactive. So what I do personally, and what I see like Simran, like I'm on the board of Elon Tech, so I'm a bit biased, like just to be clear. But what I see the work that people like Simran and the whole team of Elon Tech does, or others, like there are maybe like 10, 15 grassroots organizations right now who are being those little networks of builders, of creators, etc. Just show up and support, be proactive, give first, not to quote the Bradfeld thing, but genuinely we have a moment in history right now where disruption is happening in the US and we have amazing talent. Canada is still, and hopefully for a longer time, but still an attractive pool for immigrants to show up. We currently have first, second, third generation immigrants, as well as others, of course, who are here that can be used to be supported by people who are more established in a way. Like I've been around for long enough that if I take just like 3-4 hours of my time every week to support a group of founders or an organization like Elon Tech or that brings those people, well, it compounds interest. So you can contribute individually. Second, on the government side, I think 10, 15 years ago, we had people on the ground who were really connected to the grassroots. I would invite government people, even politicians, also organizations that are part of that layering of the ecosystem, of that structure, to also go back to the ground and meet with those people, taking the time to do that. Because that's also legitimize the initiatives of those little groups who are trying to self-organize and just empower them or get out of the way and let them structure. I think currently we see a lot of movements. My advice anywhere in Canada, by the way, is like less institutionalized work, more underground work. And for the institutionalized players, use some of the money you have to empower the founders group, the people who are building, and take the time to go fetch them because they are restructuring, they are working, and they have to have this kind of like more direct relationship and not like all this layered that create noise and create a bit of fat in a way. So hopefully we'll get more lean, we'll support the builders and the actual people who are building products and create more opportunities for them to build, grow, and eventually be more successful.
That sounds like a good prescription.
And we're working on it every day. So
Well,
that's very
we'll come
exciting.
back to you in a year and we'll find out whether it actually holds. Thank you,
Yeah,
Ilias, for coming on the
absolutely.
show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Rob. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my newsletter in the description below, and see you next time.